today with me, as always, on the board match is Adam Heist. How you doing, Adam?
Great, brother. How you doing?
All good. We've got a few things we want to discuss today. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown? There's a few bits that you've been working on, including what,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Just kind of handful of notes. Just things that we've been digging into the last month. I've been actually busy. I did a business trip with the company I've been consulting with for a couple of years. So went up to Canada for that. But really, kind of again, theme of the day is AI. It's kind of the world that we're living in now. So it's fun to tinker with. It's kind of a new challenge. So bunch related to that. So first of all, anybody that's been leveraging AI tools and prompts that pull data from Amazon itself, it's been very, very tricky to actually get it to work because I think that Amazon's deployed something that prevents AI bots from basically crawling the website. Um, so, if you're used to throwing in a link to actually have AI pull some data or extract anything from Amazon, it basically stops it. So, going to talk about a workaround for that. Um, I've kind of toggled between Manus, which is a lesser known AI tool, and Claude. And
Mm.
I've kind of, man, Manus is so good it keeps pulling me back. So we can talk about why that took place.
I'm back
Uh,
on the crack pipe there as well. I'm
yeah,
back in
yeah,
Menace.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So we talk about that. Just kind of general theme around building AI agents. Very, very kind of new, scratching the surface on this, but kind of wanted to talk about the implications because I think we're going to see a lot of that in the next couple of years
Mm.
with tools and sellers building their own suites of things. Some interesting stuff in brand tailored promotions that folks may not be aware of, and we can kind of talk about the AMC cloud data, which again, pretty beginner level myself right now, but we can kind of talk about what the implications of that might be.
Mm.
And then I've got a new kind of cool AI tool that helps with video editing for anybody that needs to chop video up quickly. So that's
Yeah.
what I had, Danny. I don't know if you had anything else to add to the
No,
mix.
I'm gonna bounce off you actually because rather than adding more topics, most of those, four of the five, we can have a good discussion on. But look, let's lead off with the web scraping, and I think what you're pertaining to is in classic Amazon style. They want to be the agent on the web, going around the web on your behalf, but they're stopping everyone else from doing it to Amazon, which I think is the game they're playing at the moment. But do you want to talk about the workaround and the reasoning?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I mean, it's a pain in the ass if you've got existing prompts and things that use Amazon links to pull data, or if you're just asking an AI tool to find information on Amazon
Mm.
before you just let it run, and it would be easy peasy. In some respects, with this workaround, I think that it actually isn't the end of the world because that data does become its own island. And so, any of your listings, any data on trends on Amazon, is basically cut off from the rest of the AI world. So in some respects, that little gatekeeping that Amazon's doing, while kind of inefficient for us, actually may help in the long term. But
Mm.
effectively, yeah. So I've got a bunch of prompts. I'll give you one example of one that actually was spawned from Seller Sessions. You had a really cool kind of how do you deep dive into a category, etc.
Mm.
So since May, I've been kind of riffing on that prompt and kind of developed my own. And basically, what it enables you to do is from any Amazon search page where they're typing in a keyword and want to kind of see what the lay of the land is for the ASINs that come up on that keyword. But more typically, what I'll do is I'll go into the actual category subnode, and then you'll have all the bestsellers. It'll
Yeah.
list, I think it's 30 bestsellers on that. So
Hmm.
if you're looking to understand what's happening in a particular subcategory, it's really valuable for it to basically analyze everything that's on those bestseller pages. Before that prompt, I'd basically plug in the URL for that bestseller page.
Mm.
It would do its thing, whether it's Claude, Manus, ChatGPT, etc. Basically, that stopped. And so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, this sucks. What can you do? And most of the tools will let you do a screenshot, which is just going to basically cover whatever you can visually see from a
Mm.
screen grab. Or you have to go into each individual page and do screen grabs anyway. It's pretty sloppy. I don't think it's as efficient. And if you've got one link, you can save the page as an HTML. And
Mm.
so if you're just looking at either one listing or one page, you can basically save as an HTML, upload that file instead of the link, and you're good to go. But what I like to do is analyze lots of ASINs. A lot of my subcategory research is going to involve somewhere between 30 and 100 ASINs. Right now, I'm pulling 100.
Mm.
And to basically go into every individual product page, save as HTML, and then you've got hundreds of these files, it basically is cumbersome and it somewhat defeats the purpose and efficiency that AI brings to the table. So you basically have to use web scrapers, and again, Amazon is kind of quarantined off the ability of AI tools to go get it, but a lot of the web scrapers are still working. And so
Mm.
one that I use is called WebScraper.io. It's a little Chrome extension.
Yeah.
I think it's 70s free. I don't know what it costs after the fact. It's probably something $10 a month. If you're doing this on the regular, it's definitely worth it. And what it basically lets you do is you run this Chrome extension and you can basically select on a particular page what you want it to scrape as well as what you want it to click on. So as an example, for my prompt to kind of assess categories, I basically go in and I show all the links of all the individual product pages that I want clicked. If you want to, navigate to an additional page, so let's say that there's 3-4 pages worth of things, you can show where to click to keep processing. And then it takes about 15 minutes and it basically pulls the data on every single listing on that page that you want to pull. It extracts it to a CSV file.
Hmm.
And then you basically upload that instead of links. So basically all my old prompts that said, hey, this Amazon URL, now it basically says reference a CSV file uploaded.
Yeah.
So again, a little clunkier than the old way using URLs, but it's definitely a clean workaround. If you're working in data with, I would say anything more than 3 web pages on Amazon, it's really great. So
Mm.
WebScraper.io is what I've been using for extracting that data now.
Yeah, there's a few out there. I think is it Appify where you can use with MCP as well and set that up. And then you've got various different options because some of the scrapers are set up for different tasks. And I think some people got wise to it. So with this scraper, because people build their own, I think they're called actors, and you got different options for what you want to scrape. Most of them are set up to scrape for reviews, and the pricing are different, um, tend to be different. But traditional programmatic scrapers that you build, the tools that you build still work, but then obviously you've got to work on the time frequency, and then there are other attributes to it. Like the other day, I got sent, I think we got in 1600 and then another 1,000, and in total there'll be 10,000 ASINs I'm scraping on a project for. But that's from the engineering team doing that bit more so than what we would do as the low code, no code kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Um, Probably good to mention also here that like what we've been doing with the reporting. I think when you said the system prompt, you're talking about my Manus one from May, before when Manus just launched, wasn't it? When it was for the search results page. What I am finding, and I've spent over 200 hours on this to scrape the whole of Amazon's taxonomy system, it's really not durable. I've rebuilt projects about 8 or 9 times. So it would tell you that it's scraped, 132,463 nodes. And then when you're trying to run it back in terms of prompt and projects, they won't necessarily nest down deep enough into the project. So I think where we are at the moment, it's good for a certain thing, but programmatically, if you want precision and you want scale, we're going back to databases, we're going back to traditional programming languages. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we have to kind of be careful of as AI does improve and we'll get less hallucination, it's brilliant for so many things, but precision data, like repetition of getting the perfect output each and every time like a code should, unless the code's obviously needs debugging, we're still a bit stuck there. So I don't know about you, it's like you can get some really amazing data out because it's creative data of the way it can look at that data. Have you noticed when you run Manage, you run GenSpark, they come up with some really novel ideas of how to collate that data and what point of view to look at the data, but they don't always manage to give you exactly what it's meant to do as per the system prompt each and every time. So if you run one of these prompts and you run it 50 times, the chances of it being outputted exactly 50 times is almost impossible.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
only got to look at the way that I'm seeing more and more with AI. It's more amazing for unpredictability and creativity because that's what it is, right? But if you're building stuff and you need precision, AI is not always going to be your friend in 90% of the cases. That's where you have to combine real world programming languages with AI until it gets to that stage. But it's still incredible what it achieves.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, and maybe kind of skipping ahead to another topic on building AI agents. Again, just
Mm.
early into this world and kind of seeing what's possible.
Yeah.
Not a technical person, I no more than the lay person, but definitely not
Mm.
enough to kind of go in and hammer out N8N flows with JSON code and all the stuff that's required there.
No,
I think
that's what
what's
we
going to
use
be,
Claude for.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think what we're going to see, which is you nailed it. I think if you're doing repetitive tasks,
Mm.
you don't want an AI agent to go out and think because you want it to think within a set parameter set. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's difficult to get AI to do that. I mean,
Hmm.
you can kind of nudge it in the right direction, but it still tends to kind of color outside the lines at times.
Yeah.
And so I think at scale with large Amazon catalogs, large brands where repeatability matters,
Mm.
daily, weekly, monthly summaries that are concise and structured in the appropriate way, can be a bit of a moving target, and I think this stuff will break. And I think that we might, ironically enough, and the programmers out there will kind of laugh at this. AI might be the gateway drug to get people to really start to think about systematizing and automating their businesses.
Mm.
But I think what we end up might doing is just getting back to Python and databases and traditional programming. So I think we might
Yeah.
come full circle and hey, let's go back to what we did 2 years ago and build actual systems. So I think that's there's definitely limitations to regurgitated processes.
Mm.
I feel like the novelty of AI is more about insights that are much more extensive than you may be able to get on your own in kind of consulting information, but to do it predictably, consistently, and on kind of a metronome type basis, I feel like it's a little bit
Mm.
harder than one may think.
Well, it's not just that. You've got the aspect of we now that the everyday person can use Manus and they can use Gen Spark and stuff like that. What they're not very good with, and nor should they be, because that's not their skill set, is to start playing around with APIs and databases and stuff like that. This is out their jurisdiction, and they're not programmers as well. But AI has given us the opportunity to see it as a gateway drug, because
Yeah, yeah,
what I love
exactly.
about AI is that it will articulate to you beautifully this complex task that is built and what it does, and then it has no congruency because it doesn't do what it said it will do, and then you have to keep reminding it, no, that's wrong. Oh yeah, and then it. Do you understand what I mean? It's like I spend a lot of my when it comes to precision, and I'm not the brightest, so the sharpest tool in the box, but why am I telling an AI program, right? And you're wrong, and they go, oh yeah, and I'm like, no, 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 you're meant to help me. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's like I'm nearly 50. I'm the one with who should be heading like with lower memory, with memory loss, not you within like 15 minutes of a conversation that we haven't really blown through part of the context window. So
yeah.
we're still babysitting, but it's still incredible what it does, and it's just mixing and matching. And I think going back to the Manis thing, I was done with Manis. It was like I'd parted with that
I
girlfriend
never
of
quit
mine.
on Manus. I just had kind of two AIs going at the same time. I was cheating on each of them, but you kind of
Yeah,
dropped Manus like a
yeah. I
bad
was
habit
like,
for
I'm going cold turkey with Manis. We're not we're going to look at GenSpark, and then I spent a lot of time in GenSpark, and for me, I can't say that for everyone else. I found that GenSpark is the cheaper version for a reason. The output I get from Manis versus GemSpark doing the same thing is not in the same league. I just think that GenSpark is just cheap. You get a lot more for your bang for your buck. So Manis seems very expensive against GenShark, and the stuff that I do in Manis actually is more precision based. Like the work that you're doing actually becomes meaningful, and the output becomes more meaningful. It's not perfect, but I just found like sometimes you pay what you get, right? You pay for what you get, and I think GenSpark is that cheaper version of Manis, and it's not quite there yet. And GenSpark has its positives, but for some reason I'm just back at Manis now, paying for the arse and keep spending $200-300 a pop on more credits. But at the end of the
yeah.
day, you get what you pay for. What have you been doing in terms of with Claude? Any difference there for you?
Yeah, I mean the main thing for me that I was kind of, I mean, frankly, I respect you, and you are kind of a Claude guy as well as some of the other folks that I talked to. I've never been a huge Chat GPT kind of go-to person
No.
for whatever reason. So Claude, what I liked about Claude as I started looking at this world of automations and agents is they've got an API that can tie into N8N and some of these
Mm.
other tools. Manus is currently a closed system, so they don't have an open API. So if you need to call on an AI API, Manus is just basically closed. So basically, I'm like, you know what? I got to start kind of getting acquainted with Claude because this might be the tool that I need to use for a lot of these automations. And then I also have used it for personal stuff. So if I want to, personal therapist, personal health stuff,
Yeah.
it's quite good for that.
Hmm.
But for me, I've never navigated away from Manus for any of these deeper level prompts I'm building for Amazon, for creating new prompts, for analyzing pay-per-click data and reports,
Hmm.
for spitting out really dense, analyzing and spitting out really dense information into really clean packages, whether it be websites or slides or PDFs. It just can't be beat. Honestly, it's so good. And a couple other kind of cursory benefits for me. The first is, let's say you set like as an example, I like to also analyze YouTube content, right?
Hmm.
YouTube's another one that they've closed off, so it's
Yeah.
hard for it to assess YouTube videos. You can copy transcripts and do that, and again, manual step. There's workarounds, but a lot of the stuff I'm looking at, how do I look at the chops, the visual chops, and how do they
Mm.
run audio cuts, just to kind of look at kind of creating good content. And what is cool about Manus is you can first of all see all the things that it's doing in the window, which a lot
Mm.
of AI does, but I feel like it's more revealing. But if it
Mm.
hits a stopgap, let's say it's going to YouTube, and it's like, hey, I can't access this, you can override Manus and log into your YouTube account,
That's right.
log
Yeah.
in like it's me, and then it keeps on running. So it's
Yeah.
really valuable for that. Really good for dense data. I haven't seen anything better for doing analysis, frankly. And then I think some of the recent real benefits is they've got the Chat GPT image creation basically embedded within it, as well as VO3, which is Google's video tool. So if you need to create images, you need to create video, you don't have to have another subscription. You don't need to kind of copy a prompt and go over another tool. It's all in house.
Yeah.
So for me, it literally is the powerhouse. I think that there's, the fact that it's a Chinese company, I think we naturally are a little bit, or at least I am a little bit, I guess, not nervous, but like cautious. I mean, it's a little
Mm.
bit more Wild West. They don't have the same barriers and rules, which as a user of AI actually helps you bypass some of the things that a Claude, which plays it really safe down the middle, won't do.
Mm.
But I don't know that I would be putting super sensitive data in there, really in any AI tool. But I think Manus, you're probably a little bit less protected than
Yeah.
you would be with a Western stateside based AI tool. But yeah, man. Again, it's so good. I just you can't beat it. So I paid the $200 a month and have all the credits I need, and I beat the crap out of Manus on the daily. So
Yeah, it's incredible. Look, if there's anything in your business relates to, it could be anything, like in your personal life. Let's say that you want to optimize all of your shopping, get it delivered to your house, but you only want to eat healthy food or, grass fed, etc., etc. You can set that up on all of its tasks. You can look for, say that you're changing your mortgage or something like that. You can get it to deal with all of those kind of things. And it's great for doing research and stuff. But I think we need to get to that stage where we can systemize the data that we're pulling. Like, it's one thing to get a nice, pretty looking report. The other thing is, okay, can we take this data, make sure it's structured and that it's recalled in a precise way and that the output is good? Because I think a lot of people try and use it as well for, analyzing things. Now, if the data goes in isn't as good as it should be, and that's without the hallucination, plus you are not you don't necessarily know the calculation of what it's doing to produce that dashboard and the output, your data isn't, you're not going to be sure of your data. So it's almost like if you are a I don't know, data scientist or someone who's very good with spreadsheets and mathematician, and then you use it, you can obviously see when it's wrong because that is your domain. But
yeah,
if you're taking it to take complex data so that it can help you understand, you don't know whether that data is correct because you don't know how the calculations work if you're going a step higher than your skill set. Does that make sense?
yeah, 100%.
So that can be a bit interesting as well. So we can go, wow, look, conversion rate this, or we can do this to optimize X, Y, and Z. But if we're trying to give it work to produce a complicated output that we don't understand, there isn't going to be a guarantee that it's going to be correct. So we're actually working off the wrong data. So what turns into be a powerful tool to do stuff that you can't do by asking you if you can do it, you still need to know what it's doing to know if the information is correct when it comes to data. But
Yeah.
still, there's nothing better for it than creativity. I mean, a couple of things I have been doing. I went back to GenSpark, and instead of prompting, it's more, and obviously it costs more in credits and stuff. But instead of me prompting to get a load of images done, you can use GenSpark, and then it uses the models to write all the prompts. It just has to understand the context. Did I give you the prompts, the Lyra prompt, the 4D prompt? So there's, let me call it up. If you want to, I'm going to call it up. And if you want to have a quick chat about some of the things you're finding with Claude, let me pull it up and then I'll explain it, because
Sure.
this will go a long way with helping with stuff in terms of tying in data.
Sure.
Obviously, just we're doing this live, so 4D.
You know it's getting serious when you get the spectacles out, hey?
When the goggles go on. Yeah. So what this is, I may share it on the screen. One sec. Let me bring this up on the screen. And anyone can have it. I just share it with. Here we go. You know it's live when you're doing this. Now it's offering window. Not that. Not that. Let me just bring this up here. I'll just read it out. So basically, what this is, I found this prompt. It was developed by an Asian gentleman, and basically, the idea is to unlock the full potential of prompts. Let's just say it's a tool that is used as a methodology. So whatever you write, it can then break down all the context, diagnose it, and then actually outputs the understanding of exactly what you want without being a prompt engineer. So it's called the 4D methodology. And basically, when you deconstruct, it says extract core intent, key entities and context, identify output requirements and constraints, and then maps what's provided versus what's missing. Diagnose, audit for clarity gaps and ambiguity, checks speciality and completeness, assess structure and complex needs. And it goes all the way through it. And then it just breaks it down into different sections where you've got select optimal techniques based on request type, creative, multi-perspective, tone, emphasis, technical, constraint basis, right? So this is a prompt that you can actually use before you start prompting. Let's say you open a new Claude project or you open a new chat on ChatGPT, you drop that in there and then it asks you what you want to do. And then from there, whatever you type basically it will have enough context to get you there to get a better output than you usually would. And so what I also did is part of the framework, I did one for image prompts, and then I did one for video prompts, because we're going back to, it can be quite difficult to get what you want image-wise, video-wise, right?
Big time.
Text prompts are a lot easier and there's more context around them. So I've developed 2 other prompts. So I'll share them with the audience, but it just means that you get faster results, more contextual elements, and then it's understanding what is missing from your request, and then it adds it, and then that adds to the output. And generally speaking, the output is pretty good. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the
go on.
things I do too is like you might start with a very basic instruction that's not even kind of structured like a prompt, or maybe you're the next level and you know how to actually sequence a prompt with all the number keys and all the rest of it. But what I find is rarely are you going to get the output how you want it on the first go. I mean, over time you refine things and it gets pretty dialed. But let's say that it's a new kind of initiative or a new kind of idea that you've got to use AI for. You come at it with your best guess on what the prompt should be. And then, you know, after a bunch of chats back and forth, you're 20 minutes into this thing and you finally get an output that you want. Again, my experiences with Manus, I don't know if Claude's this good, but what I'll basically do if I've kind of gone through a whole sequence of events for the first time and I think, hey, this is something I want to replicate, and we finally got the output that I want, I'll just ask Manus, put this into a prompt so that we can use this efficiently and effectively in the future. And it spits out the whole engineering language with all the pound signs and all this, maybe it's a couple pages long. And so if you've ever got an output that you like, kind of, I would say a quick win hack, if you're not great at this stuff, is just ask AI to develop a prompt that you can use in the future. And I've got a whole kind of library of those that have been refined over time. So that's another thing. But yeah, I think any of the AI prompting stuff and sequencing it in the right way goes a really long way in terms of making this stuff more effective and funner to use.
Okay, what I'll do, I'll quickly bring on screen because probably the best way to show it is to give Claude the prompt and then you'll see what it actually does. Let me just quickly cut and paste this here and you'll see what I mean by it. Because what I'll do is I'll use this to ask them the question about this project and what can this project actually do, i.e. the project that you built, right? So then it builds the context at the very, very beginning of your conversation. So let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see that?
Got it. Yep.
All right. So basically this is a landing page tool that I've built so that you can give it like a brain dump or some notes, etc., around what you want to do, and then it structures and builds the landing page content in context with like a wireframe. Like when you're writing content, you always got the context because you don't have the design up front, or you have to work to design to fit it all in, but you end up constantly editing the copy to fit with the design style of the page, right? So I'll just drop this in and then it should tell me about what this project does. Yeah, look, I understand you've shared a comprehensive prompt, Claude landing page architecture 2.0, archive mode. This is sophisticated multi-system that can handle wireframe creation, copy optimization, notation archiving, prompt enhancement. What do you want me to create? A landing page wireframe. So let me just grab some copy from over here that I had, and which would be more like a mind dump, and then this will have to then create the copy and arrange it like it should be arranged on like a landing page. Let me see where I've got some copy here. You can tell this is live because none of it's rehearsed. So let me just pull it up over here. What else is going on with you, Adam? Do you want to let people know that you've moved into your new place?
Yeah, man, it feels good. So I've basically been effectively homeless the last almost 2 years. So I kind of hit the road a couple falls ago and I've been basically without an address. So I came to Austin in November just to kind of test it out. It was kind of an Airbnb's furnished Airbnb type deal for up until June. And yeah, middle of June, I got my my official apartment again, man. So I've kind of been slowly, shipping stuff from Utah that was in storage, buying a bunch of stuff to get set up again. So it feels amazing. You can kind of see this is the first time that I've used my Sony camera with like the proper setup, and man, it might have been 2 years. So it feels good to kind of be back in a normal routine and keeping you honest with the pro setup for a change, Danny. So you got somebody nipping at your heels now.
Well, you've been on the road. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a hermit now, and I haven't been on the road since the beginning of the year. But that works for me. Let me just see if I can copy this in and see how that works out. It won't be perfect, but what it will do is just gives you an idea of quickly laying some stuff out and see what it generates.
So what did you just paste in there?
So I've just got a load of notes for a landing page for an update for next year. So what this does, it then creates the hero section, and then it's using various different optimization techniques and data based on some of the world's leading conversion optimizers. So what we do is we take a chunk of the work that they're doing there. We look at the anatomy of a landing page, because it's not just writing, this secrets copy and stuff like that. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And so what this does, it kind of gives you, it helps you understand what the analysis is. So it's explaining what the benefits are, and this is based on the frameworks of a lot of the leading conversion optimizer people. And then you can start working on building out like the landing page. I think this has still got a bit of work to do. This is the one for next year, but we've already done 80% of the tickets when we did that run in May. So this is something that we're developing at the moment. But I wanted to find a way to generate, you know, your brainstorm ideas of what you want to cover, but then you've got to work out where do you want it placed on the page, and is it too much verbiage? Is there too much text there? Because you don't want it looking like the, you know, the creepy kind of diet pills kind of ambulance chaser like landing pages and stuff. You want it a bit of style. So what this does, it just gives you an idea. It breaks it out into the different sections. Qualification filter, hero section. So you've got your text here, CTA button, secondary proof, urgency, and all that nonsense. I don't understand why people buy into all that. You know, it's like people still, smart people in this industry still hear the words hacks and secrets. And suddenly I'm like, you're really smart people. Like, are you falling for this? Because I've spoke to people. I have a thing about copy. I don't like to insult people. But when I read landing pages, I'm like, are you taking the piss? Do you think I'm a fucking idiot? That's how I see it. So I have to kind of write copy, or the team writes copy, where there's a line for me where it stops. If I don't vomit, then we know that's as far as I can go. It's the edge of vomit, which seems to be acceptable for everyone
There
else.
might be a little bit in your mouth, but you just swallow
Yeah,
it back
it's
in.
just like, yeah, you've got a little bit, you know, a little bit over the top. But yeah, so this is something that have been just knocked out today. And that's what I love about stuff with Claude, and mixing up the different platforms that we use. As I said, this was GenSpark, where I start over one area, I go to ChatGPT to gather some information, but ultimately what ends up is nearly everything I do ends up as a knowledge base and a project inside of Claude, because you're not limited, right? So the thing with artifacts, I mean, you can build stuff really, really quick. I mean, I just knocked this out the other day. This is a show notes builder. It's been refined. It's been deployed with some of our other tools here. But basically, after the show's done, I just drop the transcript in there, and it just writes everything for the for Libsyn and all the data, like the metadata information and stuff like that. It just works it all out. Takes 30 seconds because no one cares about show notes, right? And we don't do them for SEO anymore. But this is the thing. This is the stuff you can quickly build, and anyone can use it as well. So a lot of the tools that I've built is that you don't need domain knowledge. So let's just say that you've got someone who works for you, but they're off sick and someone else has got to do the work. Now that tool there and the stuff that I've been building doesn't require you to be domain knowledge. You just need to press a button because the creative work's done for you. And that goes back to the point where AI is fantastic for that. And I'm not talking about, you know, super expensive landing pages where it can get screwed up and you just give it to anyone. I'm talking about day-to-day jobs, like someone spending time to upload show notes and stuff isn't really moving the needle, is it? It's a job that needs to be done, but anyone can do it. And if you're using AI to take away any of the thinking part, then it's just a button pressing exercise.
Yeah.
But I'll
And
give
honestly,
you those. Go on, sorry.
No, yeah, I was talking with somebody about this recently because when I had my course community, I would do weekly Q&As. They were usually about an hour and a half, sometimes a little bit longer. And my poor Nina, one of my team members, literally one of her jobs was to go and listen to the Q&A calls and timestamp questions and information, whatever else. That was 2 years ago, man. Like it's amazing that you'd never even think about doing that now. With any call, any whatever, it's already transcribed, and so. Yeah, that stuff matters and it adds up.
Yeah. What did you want to move on to next? Do you want to go through some of the? We've kind of covered the agents, or you want to cover that bit? There's brand.
Yeah, no, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Well, maybe just because we're on the topic of AI, I'll get to brand Taylor promotion stuff last. So Descript. So I guess I'll kind of start about my content creation journey. So I started the first, I want to say, year and a half. I did all my own editing, and let's say that I was doing a 20-minute video on a case study or whatever, and I was doing some screen share stuff. It'd probably take me about an hour just to kind of think through, maybe kind of get some materials together, get a spreadsheet together, get an SOP together, whatever. Kind of ideate on it. I never had scripted videos. Then I'd shoot it,
Mm.
and then I'd edit it. I would say that, say that the preparation took an hour, the shooting took an hour, the editing would take 3 times that. So call it 4+ hours to edit.
Yeah.
I eventually brought on an editor that kind of made it way more pro, and obviously took that off my plate. Obviously, I had to pay for it. But for anybody that's looking to do anything, whether you're looking to just post some stuff on LinkedIn, maybe you're doing some ads or some brand stuff, and you want to get stuff out quick, nitty gritty, dirty, doesn't need to be perfect. There's a tool called Descript. I would just type Descript.ai or Descript AI into Google, and you'll pull it up. Basically, it's an AI-based video editor, and it's really powerful. I put it through the paces this week. So let's say that, we wanted to take this video and upload it to Descript. It will go through, it'll take all the dead space out. So like when you're trying to pull up your screen share, it would cut that out. Any ums and ahs, it would identify those because it transcribes it, cuts those out. You can ask it to kind of optimize, and it'll find basically if you're talking too much, which I'm capable of doing. I think you are as well, Danny. It'll take any of the filler sentences out and really kind of tidy up that. It can auto delete those. It can add studio audio, studio effects, automatic pan in and pan out at moments that matter. And then when you're done, especially if it's a longer form version, you can say, hey, I want to take what you think would be the highlights of this video, and I'll give you 5 short forms with all the transcript and everything on the screen. So really slick. Again, it's not going to be as perfect as a pro video editor, but if you want to get some run and gun stuff, I was quite impressed with that. Even as a baseline, if you just wanted to get a solid raw file with all the ums and ahs and pauses cleaned up for your editor, and then you pass it on to somebody pro to kind of tidy it up, it works really well. And then the final thing I had, so I talked about brand tailored promotions. I want to say, I don't know if you remember when those came out, Danny, a couple years ago.
2 years
Pushing
ago.
2 years, yeah. So for the first time back 2 years ago, it basically enabled you to retarget customers. So if they've added your product to cart, etc., for various products, you could do a brand tailored promotion, which effectively gave a very specific set of customers that have already interacted with your product pages to give them a 10% discount if they went in, just to kind of nudge them along. And, I've always seen north of 5x return on that. Usually it's about 8 to 10x return. And it's been pretty consistent, tried different percentages, whatever. It's a great program. Unfortunately, it's through the advertising console drop-down menu, so you have to reset them every 60 days. So that's the one thing that's a bit of a pain in the butt. But for those that basically just set those all up, or maybe they've got somebody on their team that just refreshes them every 60 days and hasn't really dug in there, go take a look today in there. There's some new stuff that's come out. I think it's been in the last 4 months, which is new customer acquisition. I want to say about 8 months ago, there was a cross-sell. So if somebody bought your, white version of this, you can retarget them with another variant or another product that is potentially something that they'd be interested in.
Yeah.
But I think the new customer acquisition is a new audience within the brand tailored promotions that many people may not be aware of. It's going to be a little less high performance than obviously the retargeting elements, but just don't sleep on it. I just kind of, we've always been running those, but there's some new targeting there, and it's definitely worth adding to the mix.
Yeah.
And this is more of a teaser. I'm just now starting, so I've obviously been digging into DSP quite a lot the last year. I've got mixed opinions on DSP, but AMC, which is basically the Amazon Marketing Cloud, which gives you a whole bunch of new information on the back end, has built audience builders. So you used to only be able to target audiences with DSP. Now you can actually target them with product ads on Amazon using various audiences. And so I'll probably share more as I get a little bit more acquainted with it. But basically, I think that there's a world in the not too distant future where a lot of us are going to need to stand up the AMZ Marketing Cloud to really understand what's going on with your ads. Unfortunately, it's very technically oriented. If anyone's ever done SQL back in any part of their life, I did it about 10 years ago in my corporate career. It's, I'd rather huff paint to burn brain cells than do that stuff. So it's got that kind of technicality to it. But anyway, don't sleep on AMC Marketing Cloud. I would kind of Mansour Nazori, who comes from, I can't remember the agency. It's Laurent's agency.
He works with Liran.
Yeah. Is it Incrementum?
Incrementum. Yeah, he's really good. I really like what he does.
Yeah, he's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
really technical. Always shares stuff. He's usually on the bleeding edge. He's come out with a recent video on it. So something I've been digging into the last couple months, really since I've been into the DSP land. But I think the AMC is going to open up a lot of possibilities, specifically with audience targeting for your ads. So instead of just being keyword based, targeting people, which again aligns with some of the Cosmo algorithm that you guys have covered in depth, which is you're selling to people, not just keywords, and so it's combining those worlds.
yeah,
So yeah, man, that's it for my world for this week.
good. Yeah, I've been tackling a lot of stuff at the moment. That's why I said, why don't you lead on the show? Going back to the Descript, I used that for about 2 years.
Oh, interesting.
I did like Descript. You remember a couple of years ago, I did a thing at Seller Sessions on combining external traffic, and I showed you how to build reels very fast, like literally repurpose a reel in like 10-15 minutes, and that's what Descript is really good
Oh,
at.
interesting. Okay.
The problem I had with Descript, the way that you manage a timeline, right? So when you're editing on a timeline, it's a lot different to the way that Descript is set up, because you have to double click and go inside. So let's just say that it's more than just like a 1 minute, 2 minute, and you want to use it multi-purpose. Well, normally you've got layers, right? Them layers are audio or video stems that go on top of each other, and it's really buggy to use it in the way that it does. And it just, I end up giving up with it because it was 90% brilliant, but as soon as you're combining files over a longer time stretch, 20-30 minutes, it was really finicky and difficult to work with. So I moved from there over to CapCut, and CapCut is like the poor man's version of Premiere, but it's really good. For $10 a month, you get a lot of good professional effects and stuff like that, and it's got the timeline, so I like that as well.
Oh, cool.
Where I'm at the moment, like with Riverside, this has got what's called Producer AI. You literally press a button. So after this show's done and I stem off the audio, when we're online, a lot of the time, remember, go back to the COVID times, there's three of you on the video, you've got this big gap at the bottom, right? Because you've got three squares or rectangles and there's a big gap. Well, this actually fills screen. So when you watch these, it doesn't have uneven shapes in terms of, because there's only like there's an odd number, 3 or a 5 or something like that. But what else it does is that you can EQ the voice, you can improve it. You just literally pressing buttons. You can remove silence, and you walk away. You come back, it's done. And it does a really, really good job of like the automation part of that. And then even though I haven't used them yet, because I'm still working on an N8 flow for external promo once the show's finished, they've got very good Riverside with building reels, which need minimal editing.
Interesting.
So when it processes the video, it does a really good job. And if you're doing when you're doing screen shares and you're changing the ratio, right? So you're turning from into portrait. Obviously, there's an adjustment of the file, right? So if you imagine when you're showing in landscape and there's a screen share, it's being cropped.
Yeah.
But somehow they managed to follow the screen automatically. And so it is really good. I just not got under the hood with it. But the difference is obviously with Riverside, it's not necessarily for that purpose. It's for podcasts and stuff like that. But the actual post editing tools, brilliant. Really, really does a good job. And it does a lot of the work that the tools promise to be. Like when they we're going to chop up this content. How many times have you had it where you thought it had so much promise? Even with CapCut, there's a free version where you go upload a file and then we'll chop it into 45 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you want, right? But it never picks up the nuance of where the hook is or what is a good part.
Yeah.
It always starts too late, finishes too early, misses the hook, or it just doesn't make it. It's nonsensical. They'll run you out a version which is, hi, welcome to Seller Sessions. It's like, why would anyone want to put that into a reel, right?
Descript's the same way with that too. It misses some of the stuff, yeah.
But Descript is good. But I think we are getting to that stage where with video editing is the biggest problem they've got to overcome, which I think is the human element. Everyone wants to be able to take that long file and take out what they don't want. But the thing is, the AI doesn't know what you want or what you think is good.
Yeah.
So until we meet that grasp, I think you're still going to have, there's going to be, we're at probably 40% now of editing is manual. The rest we
Yep.
can automate to a certain degree. Do you understand?
Yep. Yep.
But picking the parts of what should go in and what doesn't go in, and where you should crop stuff, I think that is never really going to go away. They'll get better at it, but how are you going to see inside the human brain who's sitting there? Say it's a podcast. Like Will could speak, and if I'm thinking I'm going to put out a reel, I know when I'm going through, I'll go, we'll cut that. Or
Yeah.
chop that up. You know, like it goes mind
Yeah.
and you might, there's a good hook there or something like that, depending on what it is. But AI can't tell that. So
Yeah. And I kind of think for me with AI, it's like it can take somebody who is before beginner or beginner
yeah,
and make them solid. So as
Yeah.
an example, if you've never used a editing tool at all, even the ones that come on a Mac, whatever the, not GarageBand, but whatever their
I know
iMovie
what
or
you
whatever.
mean. Yeah.
Some people haven't even used iMovie, right? So
iMovie, there you
so
go,
so let's say you're before iMovie.
Mm.
And it can make you solid. Like it can, you know, if you threw in Descript, it would do a pretty darn good job for what your skill sets are.
Yeah.
If you're like us that has done content before and you care about the nuances, you care about aesthetics, timing matters, you want the cuts to be right there, you want the right B-roll,
Yeah.
you want the right audio to come in at the right times and all that stuff. That's where there's always going to be a human side to it. Now maybe AI gets to a point where that even that human expertise gets rubbed out, but I kind of feel like anything. You kind of mentioned earlier with data science. Look, if you're a data scientist and you use Manus, you're probably going to be able to poke holes in it. I'm not. I
Yeah.
didn't go to school for it. I'm not a PhD in mathematics and probabilities and all the rest of it. So like for me, it gives me a damn good output for somebody who knows very little about data science.
I mean, my
So I think
thing on
it's
that
like-
was
yeah.
to be if we know it's correct or not. When I say a data scientist using Manus,
Yeah.
it's more like the data science asks it to do it a scaling job, or it is giving it a task, but the data scientist understands. The danger for you and I is we might ask it to do something. You go, that looks really clever, great.
Yeah.
But then we can't tell you mathematically if it's correct. It looks good, right? It looks pixel perfect on the page.
Yeah. The blind leading the
Is
blind.
is the information right? That's the danger. I think
Yeah,
that's what
for
I was
sure.
trying to get to on that bit.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, cool, man. Well, good catching up. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about. I'm going to start cranking out content here again. I'm coming out of my my Hazer retirement. I'm actually really motivated to do some videos of what I've been working on behind the scenes, really the last couple of years, but specifically the last 3 or 4 months. So
Yeah.
excited to get back in the saddle. Excited to have the office again. It's been fun rolling with these again, man, and really look forward to these. So it was a good chatting with you.
You too, guys. Thank you for joining us. I'll be back here next week. Next week we'll have the main image monthly. It will be part 2 of the previous episode. So we'll draw that to a conclusion. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love, and I'll see you again here next week.
Cheers. All right, bro.
Cool.